Har 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 har. Hello everybody. I'm Ari and you're listening to Bass Tunes on KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. Today we're going to be doing a review of the recently released Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I am super excited to talk about this, and with me I have a guest, a person who hasn't really been into the series like me, but saw it recently and wants to chime in with his thoughts. We have a little roundtable discussion. Say hello, Rune.
Yeah. Hi. I'm pretty normie, I guess. Like, I never played Five Nights at Freddy's. But I did recently see the movie, and I thought it was pretty good.
Oh, you thought it was good?
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, that's a good thing to hear. I was sort of curious as to your first reaction for it, because I will say this before we actually get into my thoughts on it, a bit of a summary, a bit of what I liked, didn't like, and his thoughts. Critics hate this movie. I'll be honest with you. I think the critics do not like this movie, and it's honestly for some pretty good reasons, you know? The first review comes out, and it's not good. And currently, at Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 29% approval rating. Now, mind you, approval rating doesn't mean that it is worth a 2.9 out of 10 or 20, whatever out of 10. What it is essentially an aggregate of 29% of reviewers liked or approved this movie out of the ones on the critics. On the audience side, it's like an 89%. So it is a vast, vast difference in terms of who is it for. Is it for the critics? Is it for the fans? Is it for the average moviegoer? Now, what do I personally think of the film? I personally thought that it was a good thing for me as a fan. However, as an objective film, I think it was pretty flawed, and it was obvious a lot of things could have been done to make it better. So, real quick, we'll get some quick info out of the way, and then we'll get into it. If you don't know what Five Nights at Freddy is by now, especially if you've heard this show, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what rock you're living under, but it's a horror game series where you're a security guard in some abandoned Chuck E. Cheese location. Not abandoned, really run-down Chuck E. Cheese-esque location in the 80s, 90s, whatever. And you have to go and look through cameras and stop these, robot performers from coming to get you. And, of course, the real kicker is, spoiler alert, they're possessed by children who have been slain by a bad guy, the purple guy, William Afton, the bad guy. Oh, also, by the way, total spoilers for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie in this show. If you have not seen the movie and you want to not be spoiled, go see the movie. This will be available for people to watch outside of the show, outside of its live broadcast, so don't worry about that. And I totally understand if you don't want to, but it's been like a week since it came out, so if you haven't seen it by then, I don't know if you're gonna go see it, right? And it's also on Peacock, so if you somehow have Peacock, then you can just watch it for that and not have to go in theaters. I actually am curious, real quick, did you watch it in theaters or did you watch it on Peacock?
So there was a event with Coffee Friday, and they had a movie screening at McCormick. So it was at the UCI theater.
Yeah, I think Coffee Friday is a club at UC Irvine.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. I mean, you were talking good stuff about it, so maybe I'll check it out. This isn't an implicit endorsement or de-dorsement because I've never been in the club, but hey, shout out to that. So I'm guessing you watched it in a theater setting, but they streamed it on Peacock, I assume.
Yeah, they streamed it on Peacock.
All right, well, it's not that big of a difference, but I watched it mostly through on both versions, and I couldn't really tell a difference. Anyways. Movie was released last Friday, October 27th, in theaters and in Peacock. Here's the thing. This movie was originally announced in 2015 after the franchise really got big. It's been in development for this long. Originally, it was with Warner Brothers, but it had many, many, many changes. I don't know if you knew about this. It had at least 8 scrap screenplays. 8. We changed from Warner Brothers to Blumhouse. And if you know the company Blumhouse, it's a horror movie company. They produce movies. You ever seen Paranormal Activity?
No.
The Purge?
Yeah, actually.
You're aware of those movies at least, right?
Yeah.
That's Blumhouse. They do these sort of low budget, sort of cult smash hit, cheaply made, kind of cheap horror movies. But they're cool, I think. I'm not a huge horror guy. Also, here's the thing. The reason why it took so long was because the creator, Scott Cawthon, had full creative control over basically his involvement in the movie. If he can't be involved and if he doesn't like the way it's going, scrapped, deal's done. He's got the money. He doesn't care. He wants it his way. And that's why it took so long. Having to switch directors 3 times, even after they switched to Blumhouse, they finally ended up shooting this earlier this year. So this whole thing was basically shot and finished in maybe like a year, but it was also mostly written by then. Everything was sort of set in stone, so it's not like it was rushed. Then again, I don't know. What's the movie about? Real quick, let's go ahead and read a blurb and then sort of slowly, I don't want to like overdo this review of just plot summary, right? But here's a quick blurb I found. If you go look this movie up on Google, this is what you'll read. A troubled security guard begins working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. While spending his first night on the job, he realizes the late shift at Freddy's won't be so easy to make it through. Now, what does that mean? Well, who's Mike? Well, who's the troubled security guard? It's Mike, and this is the first main character. And here's the main thing I didn't like about this movie. Not enough Freddy, too much Mike. And I'm not saying that Mike's a bad character, although I do have my issues with him. I don't think it's a bad idea to focus it on the Mike, because if you don't know, in the first game, the guy who was supposed to be the security guard was a Mike Schmidt, right? And that's the same guy. However, in the games, he was the son of the killer, which is not, I think, not the case in the movie. I hope not, because then it would make zero sense. How does he not know Vanessa? Anyways, what do you think of Mike as a character, if you had to give your 2 cents on him? Josh Hutcherson. He was the actor, PETA and Hunger Games.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm asking you what you thought about his character.
Honestly, I think he was pretty flawed. Like, he obviously, like, he had his, like, demons from the past with his, like, brother. I think he was focusing way too much on his brother.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's been 20 years. Like,
yeah.
at some point, you know, you kind of have to move on.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Like, taking, like, pills and, like, listening to the same, like, nature sounds to, like, try to dream about the same instance, like, over and over to look for clues.
Yeah, that's basically like half the movie is him literally taking benzodiazepines on the job. I believe it was lorazepam, so we got a quick little shout out to the benzodiazepines. Don't take them as prescribed. Don't you just, those things can be very dangerous. Take them as prescribed. Anyways, yeah, he literally takes, like, benzos on the job and sleeps during most of his shifts. I'm not kidding you, by the way. That's like half the movie. Not like half, but a decent chunk of it is him trying to dream and do like a lucid dream in order to, basically, the idea is he wants to dream of the scenario where his brother got kidnapped and sort of get himself in the memory, because Mike's basically like extremely traumatized by the fact that when he was a kid, his little brother got kidnapped and he saw it, right? And he thinks he could figure it out. He thinks he could dream it. But the main problem is that this is having issues with him being able to hold a job and be able to take care of the other sibling that's actually alive and he has custody of, his little sister Abby, who is the other, I guess, main character of the film. He has a little sister named Abby. She stays with him. He takes care of her. And the only reason why he ends up getting a job at Freddy's is because of his Aunt Jane coming in and trying to take custody of her in order to get payments or something like that. Wasn't that?
Yeah, like she wanted the payments from the government to take care of the sister, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and I'm like, I read this in like a comment or review or something like that, and I was like, is that really worth that much money? I'm like, I don't think Mike's got that much money. He's not really in a good...
I mean, he does have a house.
Okay, that's true. I don't know. How does he have a house? He also has... Funny little off-topic thing. The movie takes place in the year 2000. I was wondering when it was going to take place. It looked 80s, but then there's security camera footage at the beginning when he literally... Oh, yeah, here's another funny thing about Mike's character. Man literally runs and, like, beats almost the life out of this random guy because he thinks he's kidnapping this kid. It's the kid's father.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of inciting incident for him to be in the career counselor's office, which is where he gets the job at Freddy's. Or he gets offered the job because Steve Raglan, the career counselor, all right, played by Matthew Lillard, otherwise known as Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah,
know
he was
that.
Shaggy in the live-action movies back in the early 2000s. All right, and you'll understand later the goofiness. Otherwise known as, spoiler alert, he's William Afton. Of course he's William Afton. Who would have thought? That's the other thing. Another issue I have with the plot and the writing is that it's too obvious that he's the bad guy. Like, it's way too obvious. There are no red herrings. Obviously, here's the thing. And I know this isn't very like a bit scattered review, but I'm just sort of giving my thoughts as a whole. Here's the thing about this movie in terms of this aspect of it: the fans versus the general audience. It feels like I don't think it really satisfied either of them in a lot of ways. The fans got their funny images, they got their funny references, they got their funny cameos. One of the first shots of the movie is a book that says Dream Theory. Do you know what Dream Theory is in regards to Five Nights at Freddy's, Rune?
No.
So Dream Theory is a theory around the time of the fourth game that Matthew Patrick, otherwise known as Matt Pat, who, spoiler alert, makes a cameo in the movie. And he actually does a pretty funny cameo. I like the cameo. It's a little ham-fisted, but it was funny. The theory is the fact that all of the events of the first this is where, like, from the entire game so far was a dream dreamed up by the crying child who got his, like, head bitten by Fredbear in the 60s or whatever. It's a whole story. Basically, it's all a dream. That was basically the entire theory, and obviously no one wants that, because why does it matter if it's all a dream? That's basically the laziest plot writing, so they're trying to poke fun at that. I saw that. Everyone saw that. It was obvious. But there's a bunch of other, like, little visual gags and things like that, and those are fun, but I don't know. There wasn't really a bunch of in-depth lore in there. There's a lot of explanation, but not, like, it wasn't as in-depth for the fans. I guess it was overly simplified. I'm sure the general audiences sort of had to have that happen. But then, like, I was having to explain to my girlfriend things like the yellow rabbit and things like that. Of course, I'm the fan, so I'm, like, whispering into her ear. And, you know, I kind of talked a little too much during the movie, but I tried to be a little quiet. I was like, that's the killer. That's Afton. That's William Afton. You know that. But, yeah.
You know, what was pretty funny was, like, when he was offering Mike that job, he was, like, giggling in his chair. He's like,
yeah.
I'm giving this guy this really cool job, and then I'm going to kill him later.
Yeah,
funny.
I did think it was interesting. I didn't realize it, that he saw the Schmidt, and then he, like, stops, and he's like, oh, wait, I need to be nice to this guy so I can, I guess, do that, which is weird. Here's the other thing with Afton. I feel like he didn't have much motivation. It feels like the core here's the thing, all right? The core conflict, a lot of the plot points just sort of get thrown out randomly. Like the whole thing with the ant, that just stops happening by the end of the movie. It's fine. That just stops happening, right? Like, then we get to the climax, and then, oh, okay, I guess this whole thing doesn't matter. I guess the whole Aunt Jane thing just doesn't matter at all, even though that's a core impetus for some of the conflicts in the movie, like Vanessa coming again and Mike being in danger of losing his job because I guess he got accused of sleeping on the job, which he was, but when they came in during daytime, which had the most grisly killer scene in the movie, which is pretty cool. Let's see what else is going on here.
Yeah, that was kind of weird to me that how would he get in trouble for people coming in during not his work hours and breaking up the store? That doesn't make sense.
They probably don't have the security footage. There's probably no tapes, and also the fact that his name was on that pill bottle and he left it there. That was Vanessa's sort of like impetus for being like, what's going on? Vanessa was strange, but I guess we'll get to that later. I guess other things of plot. Let me think. I feel like it needed to be cut down a bit. It was weird because I know there's a much longer cut of the movie somewhere out there because, you know, Mike's babysitter, Max? Do you remember that character at all?
Yeah, like she was one of the people that infiltrated the security.
Yeah, and one of the only ones who had a little bit of sympathy, who at least appeared to be. She was going to have a lot more scenes. Her actress actually mentioned this. I forgot the name of the actress, but she mentioned that. But that's all but confirmed that there's essentially a much longer version of this out somewhere. There was a rumor, like, original postings of the movie's runtime was 3 hours long, and obviously it got cut down to a still fairly long for a family film, 1 hour and 50 minutes. But with that pacing, I really felt like the pacing was a little inconsistent. Like, the first 20 or so minutes really takes its time to get you involved. Like, show me Freddy's. Give me more Freddy's. Sure, you have the opening kill with the security guard, who, by the way, was supposed to be Markiplier, actually. He was supposed to play the security guard, but he couldn't do it. I'm very glad that he didn't, to be honest with you. I think Markiplier having that big of a cameo in the first scene of the film would have ruined it to an extent. It would have been taking me too much out of it. But I just felt like the pacing and the tone was very inconsistent. It would go really fast, and then it would slow down. Mike as a character sort of teetered between being really unsympathetic and just sort of deadpan the entire time, and then sometimes sympathetic. It really didn't feel like he learned his lesson too much, aside from the ending, which is like, all is well that ends well. Afton just comes in at the end in like the last like 20 minutes and basically has no introduction. We have no reason for his motivation. We have no reason to explain why is he doing these bad things aside from he's just an evil cartoon bad guy. And why is his daughter being influenced? Is she being influenced? I guess not. Also, spoiler alert, the officer Vanessa is somehow William Afton's daughter, which I actually like jumped up, and I didn't physically jump up. I was like, yeah, because there's a rumor that there's a similar character named Vanessa in the game of the shirt I'm wearing, which is Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. There's a security guard named Vanessa in it, and she looks very similar. Blonde white woman. There's a rumor that she is somehow Afton's daughter, which again makes no sense, but I don't know. Everyone's an Afton.
Yeah, I feel like if she was his daughter and she's a police officer, she knows he has the bunny suit. She like knows.
She knows everything about the place.
And she's an officer.
Yeah. And the other thing with Vanessa, I feel like, is that I feel like she just acted really weird and mysterious. And then she just all of a sudden dumped everything on him at once. Like, apparently there was a cut scene of Mike researching the missing children's incident during the daytime in between one of his shifts. And I really think that more stuff like that would have been good. Maybe it didn't need to be there. But seeing Mike learn this stuff for himself and actually put the pieces together himself instead of having it literally spoon-fed to him by the daughter of the killer who also probably owned and ran the place. Also, he doesn't look that old. But then again, I don't know. I mean, what is that, 2000, 1970s? I guess he looks like it's fit. Matthew Lillard, I mean, he looked like he was in his like 40s or 50s. Maybe 50s with the hair, but he looked good. He looked good for his age. He's looking handsome. Anyways, let's see what else. Yeah, I still really don't get the whole Aunt Jane thing. It just kind of gets thrown out. The conflict goes away, and then it's, oh, you have to stop the kids. Also, let me think. And we haven't even gotten to the robots here. Same thing with the movie. We're like 20 minutes into this review, and we haven't even talked about the animatronics. What do you think of the way they looked, first off?
I haven't seen much of the game, but I have seen like some stuff.
You've seen some photos and things like that.
I feel like they're pretty accurate.
Yeah, that is absolutely my favorite part of the film is the work done on the robots and the costumes. Because they're a weird mix. It just depends on what scene they're on. I think in that Showtime performance thing, of course, they built fully functional like Chuck E. Cheese animatronic type things. But then in most of the actual like scenes, they're just human beings in costumes. They're all in costumes. Except for Foxy. I don't know if you noticed this. You probably didn't. Maybe you didn't. I noticed it because I read about it before the movie came out. He's actually puppeted. He's not a costume. I could sort of tell in some of the scenes where he walks.
Yeah, no, his legs are like fully metal, and like he has like a hole in his jacket where you can see that it's metal.
Yeah.
So like you would be able to see if there was a person inside.
Yeah, they couldn't do it. It wouldn't work. You had to do a puppet. But yeah. Speaking of Foxy, I felt weird that he was sort of the main antagonist in terms of which of the robots were doing most of the killings. It was like I'm like, where's Freddy? He's done nothing. The one thing that Freddy did, which is awesome, was here's the thing. This movie's PG-13. There are some bits of violence that honestly were kind of pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
One scene I really think could have been more violent or at least done differently, but I don't know how they would have done that with the rating. But basically, in the middle part of the movie, right, there's like the first big like group kill scene with all the robots like doing scary stuff. Quote unquote scary. We'll get to the whole is this movie scary thing in a bit. But they go in and they're trying to trash the place so Mike gets fired. But the robots see them and the ghosts are there. And they're like, we need to stop you. So they're like go and stalk them and get them one by one. But I don't know how. I forgot if Freddy picks her up or something. But somehow, and this is the worst part, spoiler alert, it was Max, the sort of sympathetic babysitter, who gets literally, and I'm not kidding you, chomped in half by Freddy. She gets bit straight in half, and her lower torso falls to the ground like splats. They don't show it that much. It was mostly done through shadows, which I thought was probably my favorite in terms of use of lighting, was the shadows being used to imply it. But like watching it again on Peacock, I'm like, wait, I'm pretty sure they actually have it cut to a shot of like the half of her body literally falling to the ground.
Yeah, I think they did.
Obviously, there's not much blood in the movie, which is the main thing that they probably had to cut down on. Like, but like there are some scenes of like literal like child in danger. So hey, at least you can do that in a PG-13 movie. Abby's getting stalked and things like that by the end, and Foxy's trying to get her. because Mike makes this one decision off topic, but it was horrible. It was he ends up dreaming again and again, but the kids are there, the 5 missing kids. And the yellow one, the golden Freddy guy, little kid, he's like the ringleader. The rest of them can't talk. He's the one who's aware. And he's like kind of like a vengeful little, little doofus. They want Abby because, oh yeah, I like the robots, but here's the thing about the whole movie not being scary. What do you think of that scene, the fort scene?
Oh, yeah. It's
that
like
scene.
it's supposed to be like they're like spooky and trying to kill you, but they were like just having fun with Abby. Honestly, I thought it kind of made sense just because like they portrayed Abby as some kind of like she has like a bunch of imaginary friends, so it would make sense that she would be able to connect with the souls of dead children.
Yeah, the ghost kids.
Inside, yeah.
Yeah, she immediately knew. Like Mike was like, "Hey, about the and then I was like, "Oh, they're ghost kids," and he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know they're ghost kids. I don't care. They're fun." Yeah, it's basically the scene is. Abby wants to play with them because, and Vanessa's there, and then they just decide to build a fort with the robots, and they're like moving and falling over and like playing with each other. They're like literally, and like it's fine.
It's a very happy, fun time.
I thought it was cute, but it totally took me out, and especially like other people I've read about, people I watched it with. Well, I watched it with one other person, but getting her opinion on it. It was really just like, I cannot believe the fact that, like, I get the point of the scenes to show that they're like kids in there, but then they like go bad because of the weird screechy noise. That's the thing I couldn't figure out what that was doing, because my guess is Afton is controlling the robots or the programming to like kill or something like that, or influencing the souls of the kids. I don't know how that works.
It's probably some sort of like Pavlovian trigger.
Maybe. It also could be, I was thinking of the illusion discs maybe, which is a whole thing where there's like a disc that is in the Fnaf universe in the books that like emits certain sound frequencies that make your brain like hallucinate and change things in front of you to change like random suits into big scary lifelike monsters. But I don't know if that's the case, but there's something he's doing to interpret it. I forgot about the fact that he's basically just watching him every night, I think. At that point, I'm pretty sure that's how it is. He's just watching over Mike Williams, like watching him, or Steve. Let's see here. What else have I written about this? I wrote a lot of stuff here, but I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. Let's see what else I said about this. The fort scene wasn't good. It wasn't that scary of a movie. There was like 4 jump scares maybe, and none of them were that good. There wasn't a ton of suspense and terror built up. I feel like there's some. Maybe it wasn't meant to be that scary, but like the little balloon boy jump scare got me in the theaters. But then I watched it on Peacock, and it was like, this did not get me at all. It was way quieter. This movie isn't scary if you're watching in your own home on a TV. And I literally dimmed the lights and everything, and I found the best quality TV in the house. It took me 20 minutes to find out which panel had the best HDR support. Turns out it's the 2019 QLED Samsung TV, not the 2021. That's the same model, but a year older. Anyways. Let's see here. I feel like the location wasn't great. I feel like they could have utilized it more. Freddy's is kind of dim the entire time. And if you notice, there really isn't any suits. Like, there isn't any camera stuff. There's no doors. Like, there's a door, but the idea is, of course, there's like the blast doors you press and you have to keep them out. There's not really that. It's like they basically threw out the gameplay of the film to get the more story aspect of it, which is okay. But I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. Let's see. What else did you have? Like, any other thoughts about the movie?
I mean, honestly, like, you could kind of tell where it was going. Like, if you're familiar with like tropes and like,
oh yeah, it was very obvious. It was painfully obvious the entire time.
It was so obvious, like where everything was gonna pan out.
Yeah.
And so it was still enjoyable, just because like it was cool, like watching it pan out. You just knew what was gonna happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect anything different from a film like this. I don't like. It's weird because like it's obviously like kids are supposed to be able to watch this, but there's like swearing in it. But they don't say the HE double hockey sticks work. She'll say heck, but I'm like, you literally say you say that and you say the S word and AH and like you say words like that, but you can't say like down under, down below. You can't say that. And then I'm like, oh yeah, the creator of this entire series, like a devout Christian. For some reason, you can't say that word, but you can say all these other words. Anyways, I don't know. Let's see. Occasionally kind of drably. I thought the lawyer character was kind of funny. The lawyer who like looked like he just did not want to be there the entire time. With the aunt.
Yeah, I mean, the aunt was kind of. She was like, "We're gonna do this crime at this time to
we
get
can
this
just
guy
kill him,"
power."
and she's like, tempting, but no, she did a good job. I thought the character, I hated her. She did a good job. She did a great job.
Yeah, very like middle-aged, like white woman type.
Yeah, very not great. Let me think. You think Vanessa wanted Mike, like romantic? Maybe not that, but like it felt like a little bit of a weird thingamajig like that. At least in the beginning with the whole wanna dance scene.
Yeah, I don't know. Like she just showed up and she was like, kind of like really into him for some reason.
Yeah, I felt like she was like kind of flirting with him and coming on to him, and I'm like, I can't tell if it's just like her being like a kid and just wanting to play and stuff, like maybe stunted emotionally because of being
her dad.
Yeah, her dad being William Afton. Like, I don't know if Vanessa had it. Which one had the worst dad? Like, I'm sure Afton. Actually, no. I mean, then again, yeah, what am I saying? Wait, no, I'm pretty sure in the games, Afton doesn't literally try to kill any of his kids. 2 of his kids do die in the games based off of his creations, but those are all accidents. Those are total accidents, and he tries not to do it. But in this one, he just straight up stabs Vanessa in the back, and it's scary. Spoiler alert, she's alive, but in a coma. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, you saw the end of the movie. Let's see here. Let me see if I can get Sasha to call in. We're going to have another person call in.
Can you go into a coma from like a knife stab? Because I feel like she got stabbed like near the side somewhere.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. She probably just had severe blood loss or something like that. But like, I don't know. I don't think they consulted a medical professional when doing this movie. I really don't think so. In terms of the writing, they probably had someone on set for some of the stunts. Speaking of stunts, do you remember when Afton literally like punched Mike and he flew across the screen, or like he kicked him or something and he just flew?
I think I probably saw that, but
that was crazy in my opinion. That was crazy.
And like no broken bones. He just ragdolls.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Anyways, we're gonna have our friend Sasha, who's supposed to come into the station but could not, call in for a bit. She'll give our thoughts. Give me 1 second. We'll return back to the show shortly, right? Just give me 1 second. Yeah, all right. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Sorry, I'm trying to get some like background music going on, but I gotta get the sound thing set up. All right, here we go. Let's see if we get Sasha on the phone. You on?
Hi, I'm on.
All right, this is Sasha. Can you hear her now?
Yeah, it's like kind of quiet, but.
Oh, you can hear it? All right, cool. All right, Sasha, we have you on the show. We've been discussing the film for about half an hour now. What did you think of the movie? Because here's the thing, all right? With the Fnaf movie, basically, we have RUNE here right now, who is a normie.
Mm-hmm.
He had no real he didn't really know too much about the films, about the games, all that. And then I basically had a casting call come out and was like, hey, if anybody's a fan, reach out to me. Not a fan, or anybody who watched it, please reach out to me, just personally.
Mm-hmm.
And Sasha reached out, and she was like, I'm a big fan. Let me come on. And she was going to come in, but it seems like she can't make it. So she decided to call in. What did you think of the movie as a fan?
As a fan, I really loved it. Like, it was so fulfilling to see, like, all the animatronics actually, like, come to life and see it all happen in person. Like, I was so, like, I healed my inner child watching that movie. I was so excited from the beginning. And when it ended, like, I was so happy. Like, it honestly was, in my opinion, like, as a fan, it was a really good, like, Fnaf movie.
Yeah, that's a pretty good actually point. That's how I felt as a fan. Like watching it, I was super excited. I was super stoked just to see this. I was so happy. I was smiling and grinning the entire time.
Me too.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is real. Like, this is actually happening after like 10 years almost of waiting. I was like, oh yes, dude. Like the intro little like 8-bit stuff, that was cute. Although I wish they showed Afton, doing some goofy stuff a little more. Like give us a flashback of him like scooping up a kid or something. You don't have to show it. Oh yeah, speaking of the whole Afton whatever, what'd you think of like the weird saw trap thing that they use instead of stuffing the animatronics in the suit? Because I didn't get that personally. Like, okay, how are they gonna handle him just being shoved into a robot suit with a bunch of like wires and stuff and them crushing it? But instead it's like they strap you to a chair and there's a Freddy face with like a saw blade on it. I don't know how that's like that. That's just straight out of a Saw film at that point.
Yeah, I honestly was really confused with that too. I think because they wanted to make it like it was PG-13, they went with like that route instead of like stuffing them into suits. Yeah. Just because like we didn't actually see that machine get used. Like
yeah,
we didn't see anything.
You don't see any actual grisliness.
So
it's all
just
cut.
Like a safe backup option to like not be extremely gory and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I'm thinking like if you're literally putting them inside of a opaque suit, you're not gonna be like I get that. I don't know. It's just weird to me. I thought it was interesting, but it was weird. I will say one thing as well, and I know I've been very critical of this the entire time, but I've just wanted to have you come in to understand that, like, for listeners to understand that, hey, I actually did enjoy this movie, at least on a fan level, in a lot of ways. Ooh, I'm trying to think. I wish, like, why can't one of the characters comment on like how bad the robots smell or something like that? In the games, they always talk about how the robots have this terrible odor to them because there's kids in them. There's like corpses and stuff like that. Very bad stuff. And like they live.
Maybe.
Like they don't have to show anything, but even in like a teen-rated video game, like in Help Wanted, there was a little parts and service repair like thing you had to do in VR. It was pretty scary. But there's literally like a kid's shoe stuck in Freddy's like chest cavity in that game.
Oh my god! Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, there's literally like a shoe. There's literally like a kid's shoe in there. Nothing like super crazy, but yeah, that's at least my 2 cents on that. I think. Yeah. Who's your favorite character, Sasha? In your opinion?
In the film?
Yeah, in the film.
That's really hard. I haven't thought of that. I would have to say probably Abby.
You liked Abby?
She was very open to like the animatronics.
Yeah.
And like playing with them and not being scared and just not being afraid. And
yeah.
she went in there and she was like, she caused the problems, which made the movie like keep going.
Yeah, she was.
So I really liked the character, and like as a fan, like somebody who's been here for a while, like she was brand new, and I think the way that they implemented her into the film was really well.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed her character. I think she was a pretty good character.
I actually didn't mind her too much. I thought child actors aren't usually that great, but I thought Piper Rubio as Abby did a pretty decent job. I do find it interesting because I don't know if she's like not afraid of them. I think she just. I want them to expand on her. Is it like what's that one like M. Night Shyamalan movie where it's like I see dead people? What is that?
A Medium?
No, it's older than that. It's like one of his like classic ones from the 90s.
Oh no, I thought you were asking like what is the what is the archetype of character that can see a ghost?
No, do you know the M. Night Shyamalan movie where he's like I see dead people? I've never seen a Shyamalan movie. Anyways, I thought it was like Abby had like ghost powers or something like that, and she could like see. Yeah, she might have like supernatural stuff and could like communicate with them, or maybe because she's a kid. I think that generally like, at least through the games, I think the story is sort of the sense that the kids like kids, the robots like the kids, and they don't like the adults. They just sort of stare at them, and they don't trust adults. But yeah, they like Afton, but I guess for some reason, if they see the fact that the yellow rabbit did bad things, then they just immediately trust the kids. But then again, they're kids.
That was an interesting scene, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Also, spoiler alert, the Springlock scene I really think could have been like a million times better. There were a couple times in the film where they like drop a line from the games or like lore or fandom or whatever. And then like it gets kind of cheap. Like I'm like, okay, you can do this better. Afton saying I always come back was the worst thing in the world. I hated that. I threw my hands up at the theater and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, do this better. Because I'll explain how this works, right? So they'll explain the movie. So there's a thing called the Springlock suit, right? In the world of these games and movie. Basically, I mean, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, there are these original suits from like when these Chuck E. Cheese place first opened, and the idea was we're gonna have the robot and the costume performer in one thing. So all the robot parts, you could put a little crank in and crank it and like pull it back, held by springs. But the springs are really faulty and unreliable, and if they snap, all the robot stuff gets like right into your body, and you're done. Every part of your body gets punctured, and it's gross. In the games, right? This happens to William Afton, or the purple guy as we knew back then, where he goes in the yellow Bonnie suit, he stands up and laughs, and then just mountains of pixelated square red squares, aka blood, just fly out of him, and this huge snapping sound, and that's it. In the movie, it's totally different. One, I understand the fact that it's a PG-13 movie and you can't have like gallons of blood coming out of him, but like at the same time, the only reason, like, they just showed like a zoom in of like the little cuts in the suit, and then his like shirt that's like tinted red. That I was like, okay, and it was like more of like a gradually like, I'm like, no, I want an all at once snap. Everything just gets bam, and you're just falling down and you're done. Obviously, I know. I just think it was an underwhelming scene. As a fan, I think it could have been done in a little bit more of a grisly way. I mean, if Freddy literally can bite somebody, chomp somebody in half, you can do more. You can definitely do more with that rating. Those are my thoughts. I'm not asking for like mountains of blood, 12 dead kids all murdered on screen in grisly detail. This is Five Nights at Freddy's. It's real now. No, I don't want that. That's one. That's just, I feel bad about that. And two, it's like, I don't want that much stuff. And two, like, people would say, I'm like, I don't know, bro. You're a little sus. But I don't know. It could have been done better. But back to the I always come back. He says this after he gets like spring locked. He's like, I always come back. He's like, I always come back. He just gets a little goofy, puts the head on, just like T-poses and lies down. I don't think that's right, but he just like falls over. He's like, I'm done. Peace out. I'm coming back. I get the point. He's like, well, I always come back. I'll be back as Springtrap. I'm going to possess the suit, and it'll be good. But I read a comment like, I'll just say, I'll be back. I always come back, and then do it. Or have him wake up in the... Why wasn't there a post-credit scene of him waking up? Obviously, the robots like just beat him up and are like, we're done. We're going to stop you. We're going to torture you, whatever. And then like at the end, they drag him back into the room and he's still alive or something like that. You know, quote unquote cliffhanger for the next film.
Yeah, he's just like laying against a wall and they just close the door on him. Yeah,
that was kind of cool, but he could have been like waking up or something. I don't know. Speaking of that, let me think here. Sasha, how'd you feel about, do you think there was a good enough amount of stuff left over for like, not as a fan, but as a movie watcher, do you think that it set up a sequel well enough? I don't think it did, but I want to hear your thoughts.
I honestly think it did, because like as a film on its own, like it was a lot of background. Like most of the movie was background, and I think it just sets it up so that the next films are just straight up like action. Does that make sense? I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so, because my biggest complaint about this film is just the fact that I feel like it was not enough scares, not enough Freddy, too much exposition.
I agree.
And the exposition's fine, but like half this exposition doesn't have much to do with the games. It's just like retelling the games, but like sure, give more about like the backstory of Freddy's and things like that. I'm interested in that. I'm not interested as much in like Mike being traumatized over his brother and dreaming the same thing and taking benzos on the job and not even like playing Fnaf. He's just sleeping.
Yeah.
Bro literally falls asleep when Abby is in his custody, and then he tells the kids are like, we want to take Abby, and they're like, okay. He's like, okay, I'll see my brother instead of I'll save my brother and lose my sister and have my sister get mutilated by a Freddy saw trap and join the robots forever. Like, dude, what? Are you kidding me? What kind of a father figure are you, Mike? Like, shut up, dude. You could have I lost a lot of sympathy for him after that. I was like, come on, man. Rune, I haven't talked to you in a bit. What was your favorite character in the film?
Honestly, also probably Abby. Just because, like...
You say Abby?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked her.
She was, like, kind of, like, just talking with ghosts, like, having a good time. Like, I feel like a lot of the, like, scenes where they were like, oh, like, she's... They were, like, kind of showing her as, like, not getting along with kids or something, but she was just drawing. Like that's not something inherently bad, right?
Yeah, she's
But
like a lonely kid. She didn't really.
Yeah.
She's weird. The other thing I don't get. Oh, sorry. Continue. Do you have anything else to say? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. I don't really remember.
It's okay.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry. I felt like it was. I don't really know what's the catalyst for Abby at the end being all friendly. I don't know, like being all good of kids. Like, did that experience really shape her enough? Like, I don't know.
Like you can play with ghost kids, so you can play with real kids.
You can make forts with giant robots.
Yeah.
I think the robots were the best part, in my opinion. Do you agree,
Oh,
Sasha?
yeah. They were.
They're great. I kind of wish they didn't emote. They weren't as emotive, though. I feel like they were a little too, like, they're more emotive in the games, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do think that it was mostly done with practical effects, and I thought it was good. I think the two things that were digital were the cupcake, which I didn't even realize it, and then when he uses the taser, because, oh yeah, here's another problem with the plot. They literally just give Mike a one-tap weapon. They just give him a taser to stop the robots. There is no threat. There was no threat for the robots, but then Afton comes and he's like, "Oh, I'm William Afton. I'm a secret bad guy. I was Shaggy. I was Shaggy from the movie. You guys are, I don't know." I kind of found it pretty funny how he got all pathetic at the end. I think if they lean into that more, that would have been cool. Because he looks very, like, self-assured. I will say, Afton-wise, I think I enjoyed his character a lot when he was the career counselor, but I didn't really like him as much as Afton. I thought he was funny as the career counselor. He had a nice energy to him.
I agree, yeah.
You think Jim Carrey would have been...
Going back to I Always Come Back, it was too soon. Like, he was doing phenomenal up until that point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he was a little too over the top, personally, but I get it. It's meant to be a little over the top. Like, I don't know. The thing is, I felt like this movie didn't really lean as much into the cheesiness as it could have. If it was more cheesy and more, like, over the top and goofy with it, because the setting is stupid. You have to be honest. This whole setting of this entire franchise makes no sense. There's dead ghost children. There are robots that can physically walk around and pick up stuff, even before the fact that they're possessed. Somehow ghosts exist in this universe. Somehow there's the biggest villain is a man in a yellow bunny suit. It all doesn't make any sense. So lean into that and make it more goofy. And there are some goofy moments, like Matt Pat's cameo, which I thought was good-ish. Although I'm very glad that Markiplier did not cameo, because it would have ruined the opening of the movie, in my opinion. Because he was supposed to be the opening security guard. He was supposed to be a security guard, not that random guy. It wouldn't have worked out. It would have been too obvious. Like, oh, it's Markiplier. Okay. Matt Pat just coming in randomly, and I didn't even realize it was Matt Pat until it zooms in on him. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
That's just a theory. Oh, and Scott made sure he was named Ness because of the stupid game theory that Sans is Ness. I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah, I'm serious.
I saw that.
I'm serious. That's real. Scott's a troll. Yeah, I don't know. It was a good movie, though. I very much enjoyed it as a fan, but I just, I guess, I hope. Apparently, I read that they're doing rewrites already. They're doing that. The second movie's already been written, but they're doing rewrites of it right now to address feedback.
Oh, okay.
So as long as they make it less, either give more backstory plot, explain the plot better. I think Vanessa is weird. Oh, here's a question for you, Sasha. Do you think Vanessa wanted Mike? Because I felt like she was kind of into him. It was weird.
I think so. When she was like, "Oh, do you want to dance?" I was like, this is a very confusing plot twist.
Yeah, it basically never gets brought up again. Why does he? It's weird. Like, and then her literally telling him, "If you go in there again, I will shoot you." And I'm like, no, like, what is the police department in this city? Don't you have to go through some kind of you can complain about don't you have to go through some kind of mental health aptitude, something psychological examination? I know it's not perfect. I know the cops aren't perfect or close to it, but they wouldn't have let that in the building, would they? And why does she have Freddy's on her beat? Isn't that a conflict of interest when it's literal daddy issue? Imagine if you had daddy issues, but your daddy issues were and then now I'm thinking about girls dating guys who have daddy issues dating guys and they want like a father figure. I'm just thinking dumb stuff. Anyways, shout out to the girls with daddy issues. Shout out to the boys with mommy issues. Shout out to that. We out here. No, but that's dumb. Let's continue. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that. If you had to give a rating, Rune, what would you rate this movie out of 10? As a film.
Probably like, as a film.
As a film, just your enjoyment. Let's say that. Sorry.
Just probably like 7 or 8.
As a film, I'm not trying to like shepherd you into a lower rating. I just want to hear your thoughts.
I mean, I'm not really like much of a like film critic type watcher.
Neither am I.
Like when I watch, it's like usually just turn my brain off.
Yeah, so you got a 7. You got a 7, 8 out of 10 on that level.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Sasha, rating wise, on any level?
As a film, I would agree a 7. As a fan, like an 8.5 to 9.
My enjoyment factor was like a solid 8 to like a 9. My film factor, as in, is this a good film? Just sort of getting other opinions about it and looking it over again and thinking about it more. It was like a 5. That doesn't mean it's a bad film. My girlfriend rated it a 3, and she expected it to be a 3. She doesn't know much about Fnaf. Ellie, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. We got to make the next game. Never mind. I've sat her down and made her play a couple of the games. She thought FNAF 4 was really scary, and she thought that what is it? Yeah, she just, it was a lot. But I wish there was more stuff like FNAF 4, because now I want to scare her. But no, it was actually like she was really, really scared. But she played the other games and it was fun. So, you know, I tried to explain to her the lore one time, but she probably was sleepy and probably didn't remember it. But I think she remembered some of it, so I was trying to explain to her. But yeah, she's not really a huge FNAF person is what I'm trying to say. And when we saw that, yeah, those were her thoughts. She I think what she said was something along the lines of she didn't expect it. She had, I think it was worse than she expected in terms of the enjoyment factor. She, like, it could have been so bad that it's good, but it was just boring. And I think I like the movie a lot, but in terms of the factor of what makes it unenjoyable, is if it was like super cheesy bad, I would have at least had, it would have been like The Room, and it would have been fun as well. But who cares? It made like $100-something million opening weekend, literally doubling their literally doubling their box office estimations. So basically, nobody cares. Ellie says, SMH, I'm a FNAF super fan. Sure you are, babe. Sure you are. Who cares? Sorry. But yeah, it did really well. Audiences loved it. I had fun with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a good movie. I had fun with it. You know, as much as the critics say.
I think I saw somewhere where one of the directors, I'm not sure, I don't remember who it was saying it, but they were saying that the movie was directed towards fans.
Yeah.
And, like, it wasn't really for, like, newcomers that, like, they probably wouldn't enjoy it. But
yeah, I don't know if I
fans.
really agree with that, though, because I feel like it was so simplified that it had to have been at least somewhat targeted for general audiences, and they rewrote everything. It's not totally, like, I agree that a lot of it was made for the fans, but if it was a total fan thing, that would have been one of the scrap scripts that Scott talked about, where he was talking about how it was literally that.
Just like reference after reference.
Yeah. She's talking to me right now when she's talking. He's talking to me. She also said, it was ugly looking with the outdoor shots. That's what she thought about it. But she's also a much bigger film person than me or anybody here probably is. I don't know how big of a film buff you are, Sasha. I'm not a film buff at all. I don't like films. I'm not a movie guy. But yeah, I agree that it was shot all right. I think it could have been shot better, but I think some of the flashlight scenes were cool, and like the use of lighting to mask the violence was pretty good. Those are my two favorite thoughts about that. What do you think about the credits being the living tombstone?
It was awesome.
I got spoiled on that.
Happy.
It was awesome, but I got spoiled on it.
No, I got Matt Pat spoiled.
Oh, I didn't get that spoiled, but I got the credits spoiled, and it was like I went on Twitter. And I went on thing and someone retweeted and it come up in my For You feed. Oh, is that the living tombstone? And I was like, come on. And then literally like this week I got spoiled on like a big thing in the newest Call of Duty campaign. The one that came out yesterday. And the thing that happened, it's fine. I figured out how it happens. It literally happens in the last mission and it's so quick. I'm not gonna spoil it because I don't know who's played MW3. By the way, real quick, MW3's campaign, it was the most underwhelming Call of Duty campaign in a long time. It felt like a filler episode. The new one, it got a 4 out of 10 on IGN today. A 4.
Oh.
The last game got a 6, and then they've also gone a lot harder. Like the original trilogy, RUNE got like a literal 3.
Yeah, I think the only Call of Duty game I've played is really like Black Ops 3. And like I mostly play that for the zombies, so I did get Dark Matter, which is cool. But
yeah, I mean that's whatever. It's cool though. Anyways, that's off topic, but MW3 is cool. Where do you see the franchise going next, Sasha, as a fan? Where do you think like the games and all that and the books and whatever and the movies? Where do you think you think it's gonna go anything interesting? What do you think? If you have any thoughts on that.
I think I have a lot of hope for the movies. I don't know where they're going to go with the books and stuff, but I have a lot of faith with the movies. I'm just a little bit worried that if it does attract like a lot of new people, that it might get a little cheesy in terms of games.
Yeah.
Like when Scott kept rolling out games after he was like, "Oh, this is the last one," and then there was more. It was kind of getting a little old.
Yeah, I didn't like
and
that
so that's
either.
the only thing I'm worried about. Like, I'm kind of scared that it's going to go from, like, Fnaf, a 3-series part, to, like, a 6-series part, and then, like, a bunch more games copying the
Dude,
movies
if they start doing, like, security breach type stuff in this movie, I'm done. We can't get to there. I like no, I don't like security breach. It was cool. It was cool to see it grow up. That game sucked. I'll be frank with you. I have the shirt. That game sucked. It was horrible. RUNE was good. RUNE was good. RUNE was good. Security Breach sucked. It was horrible. It was flawed on a game design level. A stealth horror game, you could literally just sprint through the animatronics. Okay, you know what? Let's chill out on that.
All of that, yeah. But I love the idea of the Pizzaplex and, like...
Oh, no, yeah. The design was great. The visuals were pretty good, aside from the textures not loading in properly half the time. But I had that problem with Modern Warfare 3 today, so... Maybe it's just the fact that games suck nowadays. Wait, what am I saying? Alan Wake 2 dropped. That game's amazing. You should really get Alan Wake 2, right?
Yeah, I should.
I've told you a lot about it, at least. I don't think I've told you a lot, but I told you about it. Oh, it's so good, and it's actually scary. Kind of.
Oh, okay.
It's fairly scary. I'm not a huge... It's probably not like a Resident Evil 7 type of scary or Silent Hill type of scary, but it's there. Anyways... I think that'll do it for this episode of Base Tunes. Sasha, thank you so much for coming onto the show, first off.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you, RUNE, for coming onto the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This has been a great episode. Thank you all so much, listeners, for listening to the show. If you're listening to this at home, thank you. If you're listening to this live, thank you. You can check me out on Instagram if you want to check out more Base Tunes content. I may or may not have a hardcore punk band interview next week or the week after called Ain't S. We're checking that out. We'll see how that goes. You want to check me on Instagram? You want to find out more about that? That is BASEDTUNESKUCI on Instagram. And I also have my own website, which is basedari.com. That's BASEDARI.com. Again, thank you to RUNE. Thank you to Sasha. And stay based, everybody, because you know what day it is. All right, partner. Keep on rolling, baby. You know what time it is. It's Frienders Friday. That really hurt my throat. Anyways, I'm going to scat a little bit. All right, we got music. Stay tuned for Operation Community with Ann in the next couple minutes. Again, it's been Base Tunes. It's been Based. Love y'all. See you around. Stay based. Frienders Friday.